I brought a homemade dish to a family potluck. My father-in-law took one bite and spat it on the table, saying even a dog would refuse it.
My husband laughed.
I took my dish back, but left something on their dessert tray that changed everything, because I don't really know how to start this. I've never been someone who vents online, but this isn't something I can talk to friends or family about, especially not my husband. So I'm writing it here, hoping it helps get it out of me. Maybe someone else has been through something like this. I've been married to Brian for 6 years. We met at Arizona State, and honestly, I thought I hit the jackpot. He was smart, good-looking, funny, charming in that effortless way that made people want to follow him around. I came from a quiet, middle-class background in Boise, Idaho. My family was small, just my dad, and me after my mom passed when I was 12. We didn't have money, but we had warmth. We had respect. That's not how Brian's family operates. The Wilkes family is the kind of family that hides cruelty under sarcasm. They'll insult you, then accuse you of being too sensitive when you react. Every gathering feels like a test, and I was never told the rules. Brian's mom has never called me by my name. She calls me Miss Idaho or Potluck Princess. They think they're clever. I've spent years brushing it off, trying to be the bigger person. The last straw happened 3 weeks ago at one of their quarterly potlucks. These aren't backyard barbecue potlucks. These are full-blown events with RSVP emails, matching linens, place cards. They pretend it's casual, but it's all performance. I decided to bring my mom's stuffed shells. It's a dish that means something to me. I only make it a few times a year, and I do it from scratch. I woke up early, simmered the sauce for hours, made the ricotta mix just like she used to, and rolled each shell by hand. I cooked it with care. Not to show off, but because I wanted to feel like I was part of the family. We drove out to Scottsdale, with the dish warm in my lap. When we got there, Brian's mom gave me a once-over and said, "You didn't have to go so rustic. You know they sell pasta pre-made, right?" I laughed like it didn't sting. I always do. I put my tray next to all the store-bought stuff. The table looked like a gourmet bakery exploded. Eclairs, lemon tarts, crudité, everything in matching serving dishes with gold labels. Mine stood out. Foil pan, handwritten label. Dinner started around 5. Everyone made a show of complimenting each other's dishes. My tray stayed untouched. Brian didn't even try it. Then his dad, Martin, retired insurance guy, acts like he's Gordon Ramsay, finally grabbed a serving. I was watching from across the room. I wish I hadn't. He took one bite, chewed for maybe 2 seconds, then suddenly leaned over and spat it out onto the cloth-covered table.
He didn't even use a napkin.
He wiped his mouth with the back of his hand and said, "That's disgusting." A dog would turn its nose up at that. People went silent. Then Brian, my husband, smirked and said, "Babe, did you forget how to cook?" And he laughed. Not a nervous laugh. A real amused, we're all in on the joke kind of laugh. His sisters giggled. His mom smiled like she was enjoying herself. I felt this wave of heat rise up through my chest. I wasn't embarrassed. I was humiliated. My hands were shaking. I didn't say anything. I just quietly walked over to the tray, covered it with a foil, picked it up, and carried it into the kitchen. Nobody stopped me. Nobody apologized. Nobody even looked surprised. I left without a word. But I didn't go home. I sat in the CVS parking lot down the road for 20 minutes. I wasn't crying. I was thinking. I wasn't going to scream or make a scene. That would give them more to laugh at. I needed something quieter. Something that would make them feel it. So I went inside and bought 3 small bottles of cherry-flavored laxative syrup. I knew dessert hadn't been served yet. And I knew these people, they devoured desserts like their lives depended on it. Especially Martin. He brags about how regular he is for a man his age. I figured he'd be the first to dig in. I drove back, went through the side entrance, and nobody even noticed. They were in the backyard drinking wine and bragging about their HOA drama. The dessert spread was untouched. Lemon bars, eclairs, mini cheesecakes, all store-bought. I took a plastic spoon from the drawer and opened the bottles. I dipped the spoon, drizzled each piece with a light coating. Not enough to make anyone sick. Just enough to clear them out. I arranged everything back exactly the way I found it. Then I walked back out, waved at Brian through the window, and drove home. An hour later, he came through the front door looking pale. "Everyone's got food poisoning," he said. Something hit hard. He rushed to the bathroom before I could respond. Apparently, half the Wilkes family had to leave early. Brian's mom blamed it on the deviled eggs. Martin was up all night in the downstairs guest bathroom. I didn't say a word. But that night, lying next to Brian while he moaned and held his stomach, something in me changed. I realized I'd spent 6 years trying to win people over who would never respect me. I'd tried playing nice. I'd been quiet. I'd put effort into everything. The marriage, the food, the family, and they still treated me like I was disposable. So no, I'm not done. That was just the warning shot. They won't know it came from me. But I'm going to make sure they never humiliate me again. The day after the potluck, I expected Brian to at least ask why I left early. He didn't. Instead, he spent most of Sunday groaning on the couch, sipping Gatorade, and complaining about how Aunt Mel's eggs must have been bad. I just nodded. Not once did he ask how I felt, or if I was okay after what his father said. It was like the whole thing never happened. By Monday, I was still stewing over it. Quietly. I didn't confront Brian. I didn't see the point anymore. I just watched how easy it was for him to go back to normal. No apology. No checking in. Just back to work, back to texting his brothers, laughing about how the Wilkes clan got wiped out. They called it the Great Potluck Purge. His sister even made a meme about it in the family group chat. A picture of someone sitting on a toilet with the caption, "Next potluck, we're ordering pizza." Brian showed it to me like it was funny. Like I'd want to laugh at them mocking food I made with love. I didn't even respond. I just made a mental note. The next week, I went quiet. I stopped cooking. Stopped texting his family back. I started sleeping in the guest room, blaming it on Brian's snoring, but the truth was I didn't want to be near him. Every time I looked at his face, I heard him laughing when his father spat my food on the table. He noticed, but barely. When I said I was tired or had a headache, he'd shrug and go back to his phone. One night I heard him on the patio talking to his sister, Devin. I stayed in the hallway out of sight and just listened. "She's being weird," he said. "I think she's pissed about the potluck thing." Devin laughed. "God, she's still upset about that?" Dad was just being honest. "She should have said thank you. Might actually learn how to cook." Brian laughed too. "Yeah, well, good luck with that."
She's been doing the silent treatment thing.
"I might just ride it out." They laughed for a while, talked about planning the next potluck in August. Then they joked about who would bring Pepto. That was the moment it shifted from hurt to cold fury. Not just because they were laughing at me, but because Brian, my husband, never once defended me. Not during, not after, not even now. That night, I pulled out my laptop and opened a new email account. Burner name. No link to me. I waited until the next morning and sent an anonymous email to Martin Wilkes' company, a mid-sized insurance brokerage in Phoenix. Subject: Ethics concern. Personal conduct of Martin Wilkes. I wrote carefully. Didn't accuse. I implied. Told them that a potential client saw Martin in public recently using threatening, abusive language to a young woman over bad service, loud enough for children nearby to hear. I said he used profanity, called her trash, and threatened to sue the business. I hit send. Nothing happened for a few days. Then Brian came home and told me his dad was in a mood because someone filed a weird complaint with his company's ethics board. They were doing a review. Nothing major, but he was embarrassed. I nodded. I acted surprised. Inside, I felt nothing. I went back to that burner account and waited. And I started digging more. Over the next 2 weeks, I gathered what I could. Brian's family was careless. His sister Devin had posted pictures of her and her husband on vacation, tagged at a resort that her job's travel policy strictly forbids. I know because I used to work in corporate HR. I knew what those rules looked like, especially for mid-level finance managers like her. Another email. Another quiet nudge to her company's compliance team. Then I waited again. By now, Brian was starting to notice something was off. I wasn't warm. I wasn't affectionate. He asked if I was mad. I said, just tired. He didn't push. He never pushes unless it's about something he wants. 2 days later, Brian told me his sister got flagged at work for an audit. Some jealous coworker probably snitched, he said. Yeah, I replied, folding laundry. Crazy how people don't mind their business. I kept things quiet. Simple.
I didn't yell.
I didn't throw a fit. I just kept moving. Like a shadow. But the thing is, once you start seeing people for who they really are, you can't unsee it. Brian wasn't just weak. He wasn't just spineless. He enjoyed being part of their world. A world where they mock, belittle, and tear others down to feel superior. I tried for 6 years to get them to see me as family. But they never wanted a daughter-in-law. They wanted someone they could laugh at. So now, they'd laugh a little less. And I still wasn't done. Because the next thing I found was about Brian. I didn't go looking for dirt on Brian. Not at first. But after everything with his family, the laughter, the group texts, the way he dismissed what happened like it was nothing, I started asking myself questions. The kind of questions I'd been too afraid to ask for years. Why was he always so protective of his phone? Why did he always insist on going alone when he grabbed drinks with coworkers? Why did I have to hear about his life through Devin more often than I did from him? I didn't go digging to catch him. I went digging because I needed to know if I'd wasted the last 6 years of my life. And what I found told me exactly what I needed to know. It started with the phone bill. We have a shared plan. He forgot I handle the payments. Normally, I don't even check the details, just auto-pay and move on, but this time I opened the itemized statement. One number showed up a lot.
Almost daily.
Long calls, late texts. I looked it up. It was registered to a woman named Kendra Voss.
I didn't recognize the name.
But I sure recognized the profile picture from her Instagram. Same woman Brian once told me was just someone in accounting. She wasn't in accounting anymore. She was working from home now, according to her captions, and posting pictures of wine glasses with captions like, deserved after a long night face blowing a kiss. One photo stopped me cold. It was a shot of her legs. Bare, smooth, crossed on someone's patio. On our patio furniture. 2 glasses in frame. Posted on a Friday night, I remember clearly because Brian told me he was staying late at work to help with a payroll issue. I felt something break in me that night. It wasn't rage. Not even shock. It was this low, quiet certainty. I'd been lied to. Disrespected.
Mocked. Betrayed.
And not just by his family, by him. The person who looked me in the eye every day and let me believe I mattered. He didn't even bother deleting the texts. His iPad was synced to his phone, something he must have forgotten. I opened it, scrolled, and there they were. Kendra, I miss Friday nights with you. You make me feel like I'm actually wanted. Brian, same. With her in the house, it's just heavy. You're a breath of fresh air. Kendra, did she really get mad over some pasta? LMAO. She sounds exhausting. Brian, you have no idea. So now I was exhausting. A joke. An obstacle. Not just to him, but to them. Because his whole damn family knew.
I'm sure of it now.
That potluck? That humiliation? It wasn't just about food. It was about showing me my place. But they made one mistake. They thought I'd take it quietly.
They thought I was soft.
They didn't know I was raised by a man who taught me how to survive on nothing, how to read people, how to get things done without ever raising my voice. My father didn't raise a woman who gets stepped on. He raised someone who waits, plans, and hits where it hurts. So I started making a plan. Not just to leave. Not just to expose them. But to end the illusion that they could treat people like garbage and get away with it. They wanted to laugh?
Fine.
Let's see if they're still laughing when everything they care about, jobs, reputations, marriages, starts to crumble from the inside out. And as for Brian, I had something special planned just for him. I didn't leave right away. That would have been too easy for him. Too clean. And frankly, I wanted to leave after I lit the match, not before. So I stayed quiet. I kept the routine. I cooked again. I smiled more. I even offered to host the next potluck. Brian was relieved. He told me, "Glad you're over that whole thing. You were kind of being dramatic." I nodded and kissed him on the cheek. "You're right, babe. I was." Inside, I was done playing the part. Here's how it went down. First, I made a visit to a lawyer. Not a divorce lawyer, not yet. I went to a friend who specializes in employment law and whistleblower protections. I told him everything I knew about Brian's dad Martin and his questionable side dealings, the ones I overheard over the years but never thought much about. The cash bonuses he gave out under the table, the vendor gifts he accepted, the kickbacks. I had names. I had amounts. I had time frames. He told me it might be enough for an internal investigation and possibly IRS attention. I gave him everything. Then I reached out to Devon's company again, this time through a formal complaint using their own compliance form with screenshots of her on that unauthorized wellness resort during a week she claimed medical leave. I even linked the travel policy in the attachment. That was a Thursday. By Monday, Martin had been placed on temporary leave pending internal review. Devon was asked to submit supporting documentation about her medical condition. The Wilkes family started texting in a frenzy.
Group chats. Side chats. You could feel the panic.
Brian thought it was hilarious at first. They'll be fine. It's probably just jealous coworkers again. I smiled and said, "Crazy world, huh?" And then I pulled the real trigger. I made a PDF file, a collection of screenshots, messages, photos, call logs. Proof of Brian's affair with Kendra. I included his messages mocking me, the patio photo, everything. I printed it, clean and professional. Bound it with a little report cover. Then I mailed it. Not to Kendra. To Kendra's fiancé. Yeah, forgot to mention that part. Turns out she was engaged. I found him on LinkedIn. Works in IT. Still lived with her. I mailed it to their address with a single sticky note on the front that said, "You deserve to know who you're marrying." 3 days later, Brian came home to find all his clothes dumped on the lawn. His phone was blowing up. Kendra blocked him. Her fiancé messaged him once, "You ever come near her again, I'll bury you." Brian panicked. I told him it was probably a coincidence. 2 days after that, I had dinner ready. Stuffed shells. The same recipe. I plated it gently and served it to him while he was still shell-shocked from everything else. He looked at the plate, then at me. "You're not gonna poison me, are you?" I smiled. Wouldn't waste the ingredients. He took one bite, then pushed the plate away. "This again," he muttered. I stood up, wiped my hands, and pulled the envelope from the drawer. Inside was a copy of the divorce papers, already signed on my end. I slid it across the table. He laughed. "You're not serious." "I'm done, Brian." He tried to argue. He got loud. He went from joking to begging in under 2 minutes. But it was over. I told him I'd already spoken to a lawyer. Told him I had the messages, the texts, and if he pushed me, I'd have no problem showing them to every future employer he'd ever apply to. He knew I meant it. I packed my things over the next 2 days while he sulked in the guest room. Before I left, I made one more stop to his parents' house. His mom opened the door and looked shocked to see me. "I just wanted to say thank you," I told her. "For what?" she asked. "For reminding me who I was dealing with." Then I handed her a Tupperware dish. Inside were the same stuffed shells she called dog food. This time made with more care than ever. "Don't worry," I said as I turned to leave. "I didn't add anything this time. That was never about you anyway." I walked away while she stood frozen in the doorway, holding something she would never deserve. It's been 4 months. Martin stepped down from the company. Devon quietly transferred to a different branch. Brian still texts me sometimes, says he messed up, that he misses how things used to be. I don't respond, because now I cook for myself. In peace. In silence. No laughter at my expense. No insults served with wine. Just me. Just freedom. Just the long, clean burn of finally getting even.